Hello, welcome to week 2 of JOB-Spiration. Um, we're very happy for those of you that are tuning in again. Those of
Yes.
you that are new, welcome.
Welcome
This
back.
is super fun. I'm going to let Allison kick off this week's episode.
Thank you. We wanted to try something different this week. We just wanted to highlight some market updates as our intro. It's actually kind of cool. It really just sort of outlines what the growth has looked like across industries really in April, well, through April. And what is being reported is that job growth was widespread, led by gains in leisure and hospitality, in manufacturing, and in transportation and warehousing. This is actually according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, so I'm not just making this up. But job growth continued in food services and drinking places specifically, places of accommodation. Employment in durable goods rose. There were gains in transportation equipment and machinery. Non-durable goods went up as well. There was job growth in food manufacturing and plastics and rubber. Job gains occurred in warehousing and storage, couriers and messengers, truck transportation, and air transportation specifically. So I would say all of that is definitely noteworthy.
It's really crazy if you compare all of those jobs to like 100 years ago.
Wow, we're going way back.
Yeah, just to think about how different the world was at that point. And I mean, there were so many different circumstances, like women just coming into the workforce.
Oh, for
There
sure.
was a lot going on in America at that time. And that brings us to today's topic.
A little bit of evolution we're going to discuss today.
Dun dun dun.
But the evolution of applying for a job, specifically, and
Yes.
how that has totally transformed.
So, to get started, how did even applying for a job, like, how did that start? What was that process then? I mean, when did it start?
Well, I would say, honestly, probably as far back as the 1400s. I know when we were looking things up for this, what kept sort of jumping out was really resumes. And resumes and applications we know now sort of go hand in hand. But a long time ago, I think the resume, in essence, was really more of just a letter about yourself and telling people who you are, what you did, and why you did it well. And from what we found, DaVinci wrote a letter to the Duke of Milan listing his qualifications as somebody who was worth the Duke's time. And I'm thinking that is probably our first resume from French, but really the history of the resume.
I would give DaVinci my time any day. I
Right.
mean, think about it.
No, I so agree.
He's qualified for everything, isn't he?
Done a little bit of it all, for sure. True Renaissance man.
All right, well, without making this a full-on history lesson,
We love history.
neither of us are history majors.
No, just interested.
To paint a picture of what exactly was going on, about 100 or so years ago, America's on the tail end of the Industrial Revolution. World War I is ending, and then we
Yes.
go into the Great Depression, which lasted through about 1939, I think.
Mm-hmm. Right before the 40s.
Yes, a lot of sad things happening.
Well, yeah, and I guess at this point too, only so many jobs are really at the forefront.
Yeah.
The big guys, probably before full-fledged industrial takeover, is like what, farming? What else would you say?
Mining, cattle ranching was another popular thing we saw.
Cattle ranching.
Like now I think about cattle ranching and I'm like, oh, they just do that in Texas. But in reality, like the entire Midwest is doing that still. I mean,
It's very true.
it's pretty cool.
Kind of far removed from what like you and I do. I feel like if
Yes.
we were anything related to cattle ranching, it'd be a little like Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, that's really crazy to think that those were the primary types of jobs before things started to change. So,
Yeah.
what would you say then, like, kind of changed that?
Well, there was a lot of slow development in a lot of office jobs, sales, retail, but it was really hard for those jobs to be more developed because of the Great Depression. I mean,
Makes sense.
coming out of World War One, not to get too political, but of course there was a lot of mitigating circumstances surrounding that, and soldiers coming home,
Sure.
an abundance of people looking for work, how to make money. Soldiers really didn't make that much money then when they were drafted for wars, but there was also an increase in women working in that era, which is exciting for us.
Absolutely. Release the women. But no, I mean, also, too, that's a big deal for women in general, coming from more of a view of how that was always split up. It was like a hunter-gatherer relationship in the
Yeah.
beginning, right? So that's awesome. Factory jobs, I guess, were on the rise then. We all know Rosie the Riveter came through with her muscles. But yeah, simultaneous transportation advancements, I think, too, would probably, in general, make that easier for everybody to join the workforce, get out of the house.
Yeah, this definitely made it a lot easier for people to travel into like their surrounding towns, looking for jobs. A lot of people would call. There were phone books at this time. Walk in, ask for job openings, mail letters and applications to potential employers as well, which is so crazy to think about because honestly, today, if I got an application in the mail, I would think this person is really mysterious.
I agree.
And that was not mysterious back then. That was just the norm. Like, that was super professional.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I guess that's pretty accurate. Phone calls, letters, kind of the odd way to do that, but probably just increase their walk-ins too, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, their Fitbits probably said they walked thousands of miles back then.
Visiting new cities for the first time that didn't take like days on foot.
Yeah.
No, it's cool.
Well, also during this time, just to kind of throw this in there, there was a lot more educated people completing, whether it be like grade school, a lot of fresh college graduates too, which really increased the amount of candidates that were qualified for higher level jobs. I mean, today when we see jobs listed, they have that qualifications section, which, you know, may have education requirements or certification requirements. So that's kind of where this started. And we actually came across in some of our research that Thomas Edison in the 1920s created a written evaluation, which became really popular for employers to kind of help them evaluate several different candidates that they were getting rather than going through hundreds of interviews. I mean, can you imagine interviewing over 100 people for one job?
No, I wish everybody could see my face right now. That is horrifying to even think
Really
about.
scary.
And then how would you weed through them? Oh my gosh.
No, and you really have to give everyone that fair chance too.
Oh yeah.
So it's like you can't just look at a resume and brush past it. Like,
Well, and in the, I mean, what we're talking about, the 20s-ish, I guess, like, their education probably was somewhat equivalent to each
Yeah.
other. I mean, there probably weren't many people who really stood out among those who all went to school.
Yeah.
So how do you pick the most qualified and the best people to work for your company?
well, this test was really interesting. We did a little digging on Thomas Edison's evaluation, and
Yes, we did.
I
We
hope-
read through it.
I hope y'all are sitting down for this one.
It was so scary, you guys. I don't
To
think I knew any of it.
no, I apparently was not qualified at all to work in the 20s, according to this test.
I mean, this guy invented what? Like the light bulb? What did Thomas Edison give us? Didn't he do
He
something
gave us
amazing?
a lot of things. I think
So-
the light bulb was like the most incredible thing.
I mean, really, if he's judging my intelligence, I'm not fit already from the jump. but-
Yeah, no, I'm with you, girl.
So thankfully, as we now know, evaluations have changed drastically over time and are much more industry and skills specific. So,
Thank God.
shoo.
So, there was obviously no internet at this time, so it was really, really testing your true level of knowledge during these evaluations. And some of the obscure questions we found were, where do we import cork from? Does anyone know? Because I don't.
Crickets.
Who is Hannibal, but not Hannibal Lecter?
Not the Hannibal you actually know. So yeah, no, you fail that one too.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What else?
How is sulfuric acid made?
Yeah, no,
No.
don't go answering all at once. Please.
I don't know.
Seriously though, like what kind of test is that?
I don't know what the base level of knowledge was in grade school at this time. Maybe that's something that they learned. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I had to Google who Hannibal was. I mean, and then as soon as something came up, I was like, oh, okay, that guy. Like,
Oh,
I know this, I learned this. But, like, today in 2022, my immediate thought is Hannibal Lecter. I mean, that guy was really intelligent if you think about it. Like, the movie,
yeah.
Silence of the Lambs.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a genius. So, in reality, it kind of does line up.
It does. It definitely does.
But the timeline doesn't.
It is not the right Hannibal.
Unless he's a time traveler.
I mean, there's something to explore there.
Highly possible. Well, no, as time went on, a lot of these evaluations definitely have altered.
Yes.
Several different companies have eventually and are continuing to create their own, which is really useful for specific industries. I mean, if I'm hiring somebody for an accounting job, like, I obviously want to know if they're good with, numbers or any kind of calculations that they might need to do on the job versus, like, I don't know, like customer service.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to know, like, what kind of person they are, like what their personality is, how they interact with people. I don't care if they're good at math or not.
Totally. And I think you might even know more about this than I do, but we currently have a client right now who has their own evaluation, right?
Yes, yeah. So we do have a client that has an industry-specific evaluation, and that industry specifically deals with a lot of science, calculations,
Totally. That makes sense.
experiments, things like that. So that evaluation is to test their level of knowledge in biology or chemistry, wet chem, things like that. And that evaluation is not testing how well you are going to help the customer that has an issue,
Right.
There's really a distinct difference across industries, especially medical industries.
Well, gosh, maybe even something less like cognitive based. There's some weird, funky stuff in cabinets you can find here.
Yes.
That another client had us do, like, what, 15 plus years ago?
Yes, how to wrap mugs.
Okay.
That was one of the
Yeah.
tests. We have this handheld, I guess I want to call it like a machine.
It kind of looks like a clamp, honestly. Like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't know how to explain it to
All
anybody.
of you DIY queens and Cricut makers, you probably know what I'm talking about. But it really was like to test how fast people could wrap mugs, because we did used to hire for a lot of seasonal jobs. Who doesn't love a good mug for Christmas? So
Me.
Okay, but how many mugs do you get every Christmas?
Okay, honestly, and use them all. Yeah, me.
I have an entire
So many.
cabinet with 3 shelves
Allyssa.
full of coffee mugs.
Stop it.
Ask me how many I use.
I'm scared. How many do you use?
I literally only use 2.
Oh. 3 shelves.
I have a whole 3 shelves.
They're
They're
stinging.
Collecting dust.
That is rich. I love that.
Okay, we totally got off on a tangent.
Sorry, that was fun though.
Yeah, this is gonna be an every
Mugs.
episode thing. Well, going off of those evaluations kind of changing with time. That's kind of where things really just continue to evolve off of. I mean, resumes started to grow. The evaluations, in-person interviews were always really a thing. But in 1969, the internet was born. This wasn't widely accessible or widely used until the early 1980s. And according to Rock Content, they provided some statistics that faxing was used primarily during this time period, and the use increased from 300,000 to 4 million in 1983.
Okay, wait, what? Can we just talk about that one more time?
4 million faxes.
Starting at 300,000.
Yeah.
That's a huge jump.
Incredibly huge. And
that means everyone was faxing.
Those were all for resumes.
Oh my gosh.
So,
what a nightmare.
Say one fax per resume. That's 4 million resumes across America.
That is so wild.
I mean, and of course, if you're breaking it up with the amount of job openings that were, available during that time period, it's pretty average, I suppose. I'm sure the unemployment rate was decently low then. I don't know. But
yeah,
this made it really easy for job seekers and employers. I mean, we still fax today. We get faxes every day. We don't get 4 million or 300,000.
No.
We get 2 a day.
And we don't have to hear the little dial-up fax sounds that I'm sure they were listening to.
No, but I low-key love that sound.
It is kind of nostalgic. I agree.
It is. I feel like I want to put on an old 80s movie and listen to them receive a fax.
Well, my faxes are coming in.
Sorry, can you hold? I'm getting a fax.
So everyone's faxing. That's what was happening in the 80s.
Faxing was the way.
Until, I guess, the World Wide Web?
The WWW. That was established in 1989.
And I was going to say, guess what? But emails totally trumped the fax.
Oh, 100%.
Fax who?
Faxing went out the window.
Emails came through big and bad.
Yeah, Yahoo, AOL. Was Gmail available then? I don't know how old Google is.
Okay, so I'm going to show my age here. It used to be Hotmail before you could have a Gmail thing.
I remember Hotmail.
Yeah.
You're not that old, lady.
Thank you.
I remember.
And if anybody's still out there using a Hotmail, you guys are the real OGs, so stay strong. Someone actually had a Hotmail address the other day. She made me read it back to her. She was like, yeah, I've been in the database for so long. Pull me up. And girl had been. She worked with us a very long time ago. And I was like, is your email address still the same? She's like, yeah. And it was a Hotmail address. I was like, I love that. I know. I was like, please don't ever change that.
I love seeing AOL email addresses today too, because how often do you see that?
Agree.
Now it's all Gmail or iCloud. iCloud email addresses kind of freak me out. I don't know why. It might be my OCD.
They're not real.
They're just sketchy.
They're not real.
I'm sorry if you have an iCloud.
Yep.
You're real. We trust you.
I'm just judging you.
Yeah, so email was awesome for job seekers. I mean, even still today, we get emails a lot with resumes, people inquiring about positions, questions.
It's just how you really communicate.
Yeah.
I mean, in your working setting. Especially in our office, we email a lot.
Yeah, it's I feel like the primary source of communication in office settings.
For sure. And then I guess from there, really, we keep improving throughout the internet. The next thing that really became the next big thing was job boards.
Yes.
Hit the scene.
Yeah.
Everybody was in a job board or a chat room, I guess. Who knows?
Oh, those AOL chat rooms. Well, by 2000... 50% of job seekers use the internet, and then this increases to about 80% by 2010. Those statistics were also pulled from rockcontent.com. To think that by 2010, 80% of people looking for jobs were using the internet is pretty awesome.
It's crazy.
I mean, that's only 10 years of a 30% increase. The world moves quickly, y'all.
Well, and undoubtedly was changed. I mean, there's no going back from that.
Yeah.
Internet forever.
Oh, yeah. And it's just continuing to grow. I mean, you look at the timeline from 2010 to now, I mean, we're just continuing to grow. We have LinkedIn, Facebook, Glassdoor, Indeed, just to name a few. So many social media platforms and job boards. Everybody uses everything for resume building, advice, tips. I mean, even this podcast.
Yeah. That's true.
The internet has everything, honestly. And it has really impacted the evolution of applying for a job.
Sure.
I think the most popular thing a lot of the time we see is Indeed and LinkedIn applications, if it's not straight from our website. But even Facebook jobs, it's kind of interesting. I mean, not my cup of tea, because I find Facebook and Instagram to be more of like a personal blog.
I can see that.
Just based off of my experience of advertising jobs through like Facebook and Instagram, you definitely get interest, but filling out an application throughout these sites, definitely valuable, but not as common.
Yeah.
Like, who goes on Facebook and applies for a job nowadays?
Well, you're right. I mean, there are really just so many other ways to do it. And even with you talking about social media in general, if you already kind of know what company you're interested in, I would go to their pages.
Yes.
I mean, see what they're putting out internally and go to their website directly, see what you can do that way. I think that definitely is valuable.
I think
advice.
that shows that you're willing to take the extra step too. Like, if you see our ad for a job that we're hiring on Facebook, like, go to our website and learn more.
Yep.
I mean, know what you're applying to. Be prepared in all kind of directions for that job.
Absolutely.
So. Well, this was fun.
This was fun.
I liked this timeline. Did you guys like this evolution?
Did you learn you guys a little something?
Yeah, let us know if you liked our evolution of applying for a job. We thought this was a really interesting topic because we were kind of brainstorming the other day and we were like, well, how did this process even start? I mean, it would be kind of interesting to talk about, so.
Yeah, there's so much we want to discuss, and I feel like a little bit of framework and kind of just understanding the basics of where we've been and where we're going in this industry is also really important. So I'm glad we got the chance to cover that. Hopefully you guys found something about it valuable. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, do we even have a comment section? Hey, wait, we're on Spotify, guys.
There you go.
Go follow us. I probably should have started with that.
You know, kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. Hey, we're getting there. Well, thank you for tuning in for another week of JOB-Spiration
Uncut.